John Karras and his team worked since 2011 to create their own line of Battle Beast-inspired microfigures with more traditional detail and style. To make it happen, the project went to Kickstarter and easily made its funding goal. At that point, however, the series had nothing to do with Glyos. John found out his factory would be unable to produce his figures at their intended 60mm size, instead needing to upscale them to 80mm to fit the detailing. And rather than take people's money for an uncertain product that wasn't what he promised, he cancelled the funding. That's when Matt Dowdy got involved. His Glyos facility was experienced with producing fine details, and after some Glyos engineering enhancements, the beasts rose again. The final figures are the intended 60mm size, or about 2.5 inches tall for those of us scared of the metric system. And as the original factory found out, they are loaded with detail at that size. First, we're looking at Gamic, the first release of the Rhino mold. It's molded in metallic black and painted mostly in gray. And yes, there does seem to be more gray on the toy than black. That's how painted these figures are. From the armor sculpting, we can definitely see where the Battle Beast inspiration comes from, with the square in the chest and the matching armor layout, though here the gear shows a lot more musculature, with the bulging curves really reminiscent of 80s toy lines like Thundercats and He-Man that did that all the time. The detailing on these guys is impeccable, with lots of tiny rivets and indents and sharp lines despite its size. The paint holds up to this as well. The lines are clean, and even from a prolonged glance, it's hard to tell what colors are painted and which are molded. The head is where the figure shines. It's very expressive and well sculpted with its snarling lips and folds in the rhino skin. Even the lines of the teeth are sculpted in. What I like is it's asymmetrical, with one cocked eyebrow and the snarl larger on one side than the other, like an old Ninja Turtles toy. I think my favorite detail are the guns molded into the arm guards, so even without a weapon, he's combat ready. Speaking of, the hands are sculpted to hold old Battle Beast weapons if you happen to have them. It's not all upsides though. Since this wasn't intended to be a Glyos line, the articulation is lower than previous Glyos figures I've reviewed, with the standard head, shoulders, and waist swivels, which again puts it right in that 80s action figure style. There's another metaphorical elephant in the room, but let's look at the other mold first. Meet Caravan, and at this point I apologize if I'm butchering these names. The original Battle Beast didn't feature a scorpion, so this one really stands out. It's molded in the same metallic black, but with a nice gloss orange on top that really pops against the dark plastic. His limbs are a bit thinner, which you'd expect from a bug, and the detailing on them seems sharper, giving him a creepier, more spindly look that's appropriate. I also like how the armor is layered, so it has the same look of a scorpion's carapace. Naturally, his biggest design feature are the claws for hands, which I get a big He-Man vibe from. Sadly, these can't hold weapons like the Rhino, but who needs them when you've got these crushers for hands? The head sculpt is awesome, with an angry grimace and mandibles around the mouth. It's the eyes that do it for me. Natural on one side, Borg on the other. It's a really creepy look that I'm really into. Of course, being a scorpion, he needs a tail, and rather than cheap out and mold it as part of the leg parts, it's on a Glyos peg, letting it articulate. It can even hang all the way down and not interfere with standing. This gives him 5 articulation points and some more versatile posing options than his counterpart. Now the bad news. Since this was never meant to be a Glyos line, these are not as interchangeable as the other figures I've reviewed, and the aesthetic really doesn't match up. That's either a detriment or a challenge for the Glyos builder. There's some things that work, like the heads on armor boards to give a powered armor look that any Warhammer fan should appreciate. There's ways it works out though. Alongside these, John sells unpainted versions of his figures. These are usually available in the current colorway, as well as black, gold, and European flesh tone in reference to the old muscle figures. And molds are made in matching colors, so if you've got customs you want to do with the armor of one and the arms of another, it's a great way of making the job easier. And even better for customizers, John's got big plans for the future, with 4 more figures in the production stage as of this video, including some based on the original Kickstarter designs, meaning a lot of options. Or just some cool new toys for us normal collectors. I credit John enormously for sticking to his goals even after the Kickstarter fell through. The dude scratched and clawed to make these toys happen, and they're works he can definitely be proud of. Newbies and collectors will enjoy these not for the Glyos aspect. That's a nice feature, but it's a secondary here. The real appeal to these is that 80s and 90s style action figure in a pocket-sized form. The level of detailing really does make this feel like the toys I grew up with in micro size, which has a real charm to it, and makes them perfect desk toys without taking up too much space. Not to mention, really affordable for a Glyos line, with fully painted toys only $7 as of this video, and unpainted, $4 a pop. No wonder John sells these things in army builder packs. While you're on the shop, there's some other things to check out, like his mail-away promotion where you earn points with every purchase, and other colorways like this dude who looks like a modern Rocksteady. There's other exclusive minifigures that have nothing to do with Glyos as well, and while some of it isn't appropriate for my channel, one of them is a Boba Fett in a business suit. If that doesn't make you curious, I don't know what will. Yup, even extra lessons need extra credit. If you'd hire a tutor like I told you, this wouldn't happen. One thing I saw people mention throughout Glyos 101 was they didn't see why these were so much more special. If you view them as just another piece of plastic, then they're not going to, but you could say that of any toy line. What makes them special are the people behind them, and the fact that you actually know who they are. It's not some faceless person at a drafting table at Hasbro, or building CAD models at Mattel, making things based on someone else's drawing or a character from 30 years back. You know how I did my research for Glyos 101? I asked the people who made the toys. That fact alone sets them apart from anything I've bought from Walmart. These toys I own are the creation of a small group of people, sometimes a single person, and that person is approachable, and in my experience, always cool to talk to. I can hold their creation, the way they wanted it made, unfiltered by focus groups or business trends or boardroom mandates, and I can know the person who made it real. That, my friends, is special.